Hey everybody, we're gonna talk about the number one secret why you make the decisions that you make, okay? And before we get started, I want to let everybody know that I always have my eyes more on the road than I do on the camera. So it's there's always a huge gap if I'm even close to looking at the camera. So just to keep that in mind. Anyway, so let's talk about the reason you make the decisions you make. See, our mind is really not set up to create success. I know that's devastating to everybody, right? Now, that's not to say you can't, and it's a challenge. It's not a challenge to get there. It's just what happens is our mind is like a supercomputer, right? Everybody knows that. The subconscious mind is, millions of times more powerful than our conscious mind. And what happens is when we actually decide, or when we actually are born, everything that happens to us goes in this huge database of things that happen to us. So let me give you an example. Because I'm going to tell you right now, the number one secret is, and when you make a decision, is that the decisions you're making are based on false premises that you've had your entire life. It's built sort of a, really? So, I just had it. It's like when you get a Camaro, everybody's trying to race you. In any case, so, what happens is, you touch a dog when you're like 2 years old, and it bites you. And guess what happens? When that happens, your database goes, ooh, dogs are bad. Now, you may see another 1,000 dogs in your entire life, and they may lick your face. They may never bite you again. But the initial reaction every time you see a dog, your database goes, well, what happened the first time we saw a dog was it bit us, so dogs are evil. And it has a challenge to really break free of that. And that's where you set up your initial ideas, concepts, strategies of your blueprint for your mind. So every single time that you're looking to break away from that, it has to break away from that actual thought. And that's why you got to change those paradigms. That's why you got to realize that, hey, wait a minute, I got to self-analyze. And I'll give you a quick story. When I was, it's funny, when I was growing up, my dad would get upset every time he was in traffic or every time he was behind someone. And it was, I remember him always going, geez, I'm late for work, and there's always a guy that I'm behind that's going slower than me. And I started, and I read a book, like, I don't even know what the book was, but it was like 10 years later. And it says, why do people get upset when they're in traffic, they're late, and the people in front of them are going the speed limit, and then they're upset at the people in front of them as opposed to the person who left late, which was them. And it was like, oh my goodness, right? Like, it was a paradigm shift for me. And it took a long time to sort of break that paradigm. It took a long time for me I used to practice. So like if I got behind someone, I get frustrated, but it wasn't my thought process. That was never my thought process. It was what I learned from my dad, right? I mean, it was just a learning curve. We learn not only through those initial challenging or initial reactions that happen to us when we're younger, but we also learn through authority figures, and authority figures can be anybody. I mean, they can be the janitor at the school when you're 5 years old, and they can be a bus driver when you're going to school when you're 7. One of my mentors talked about his daughter getting on the bus, and she walked by him, and the bus driver said, geez, that girl is ugly, or she heard him whisper that. Now, we're not even sure if he meant her, if he was talking about something else, if she even misheard that. Didn't matter. It completely devastated her for years and years and years. And that's the key. A lot of times we base these false premises, like the dog being evil, right? Evil, as I like to say. So we got to analyze these things. Like I literally stopped when I read that book and went, wait a minute, all the things that I think, like my dad telling me that, people are always slow when, he's late, I got to analyze that. Why do I get frustrated when I'm in traffic? Why do I get frustrated? So like if someone cut me off, James McNeill, a good buddy of mine who does verbal Aikido, he says, when we're in traffic and frustrated or upset, or someone cuts us off and goes by us or does something in traffic that, we don't appreciate, we should just yell out the window, "Save the baby!" And here's the reason why. What if they were trying to save a baby and you were upset at them for cutting you off? Or you purposely got in front of them to slow them down? I mean, we don't think about the things that are driving people to do what they do. And that's the thing. We shouldn't really do that. That's them to do what they do. Right? We're all people. We're all made of the same stuff. We just have different ways of reacting to different things. And it's those false premises that make us make the decisions that we make. And those decisions, each and every one, stack on each other, like we've talked about earlier. And they become our blueprint of what we think, believe, see, feel, and assume life is supposed to be. And the reality is, those could be all false premises that we've based our whole entire life on. So if you think you're ugly, you think you're fat, you think you're stupid, you think you can't get wealthy, you think, based on things that were told to you or that you believe in the past, that might not necessarily be the true meaning of your life. And it may not be an actual, even real reason. So you've got to analyze those things. You got to actually question, why do I believe what I believe right now? Why is this a concept? And I don't know if I should go into this right now, but if you've ever heard of this, something called a servomechanism, and they use them on warheads, and you actually have one in your home, so don't get freaked out, nothing's going to blow up. But a servomechanism is something that resets itself. So what happens is, you get a thermometer is a perfect example of a servomechanism, and we have all servomechanisms of our belief of how wealthy we should be or how poor we should be, frankly. And what happens is, this happens to you if you look back. Once we set it, we just continuously believe that that's the number that we should hit. So if on average you've made $100,000 a year in your life, you could have a great year and do 150, and your servomechanism goes, uh-oh, you made way too much money. So the next year you have a bad year, and you're like, why is it that I can never break free of that $100,000 barrier? And one of the reasons why is you literally have to reset your thermometer. We all have them. And that servomechanism is so powerful. I mean, think about it. Like when you set it in your house for 70, and if it gets colder, it gets to 65, it pops on and brings it to 70. If it goes to 82, it pops on the air conditioner and drives it down to 70. So that servomechanism in your head is always being calibrated to give you what specifically you believe you should get. One of the most powerful statements that Think and Grow Rich talks about is thoughts are things, right? And whatever the mind of man can believe, he can achieve. And people don't really focus on that. We tend to focus on what is going on around us, like we talked about in earlier videos, and we see what we see, and that's what we believe. But really, it's what we believe will come to us, and will come to fruition, and we'll see it then. And I'm going to keep on the theme of these decision-making process, because you are one decision away from changing your life and having the life of your dreams. So I really would love it if you guys could comment below. Tell me the things you want to talk about, whether it's personal development, business strategy, also sales strategy, what to do, how to say it, how to answer any objection. I got some cool stuff on that, but I'm kind of going through the mindset first, because a lot of people, we can do that servomechanism so powerful that literally our whole life is based on that. Our whole life is based on that blueprint, and we're going to keep working on the blueprint a little bit, because it doesn't matter if you had all the tools in the world, you had the best marketing, the best strategy, the best everything. In the end, if you don't believe that you can achieve the things that you want to get to, you won't get there. I mean, that's the number one secret. That's the number one secret everybody needs to know. So that's how you make decisions. So please comment below, like the page, follow me if you're not following me, and I really appreciate the time you guys have been giving me every morning. I'm thinking of naming this, Bob and Camaro driving home from the gym. I don't know. It's going to come up with some snappy name. Maybe you guys can give me some snappy names to call the morning ritual of talking to you guys, and sharing some of the information that hopefully helps you guys go to the next level. So I want to thank you for being here today. Remember, you are one decision away from living the life of your dreams. Make it a great day, folks.